Night stretched across the land. The wind would not rest. No one knew history was about to change forever.
Morning came the way it always did. Light slid across the hills. Smoke rose from cooking fires. Tools struck stone. Animals pulled against ropes. Conversations drifted between houses made of mud, wood, and woven fiber. Nothing in the air suggested that history was about to divide itself into a before and an after. People woke with plans, arguments to settle, crops to tend, repairs to finish. Children ran through pathways carved by years of footsteps. Someone laughed too loudly at a joke that wasn't very good. Ordinary life has a sound. That morning, the world made it. And just beyond the edge of the settlement, something enormous stood in stillness. The Ark. It had been there for years, long enough to become part of the landscape, like a hill, like an odd-shaped cliff. People stopped reacting to it. The shock had worn off. The questions had faded. Mockery had gotten boring. Familiarity is powerful. Even the impossible can become background. Noah was already awake. Age had drawn lines into his skin, but his posture remained steady. Hands that had lifted timber for decades moved with quiet efficiency. He did not move like a mystic or a prophet from legend. He moved like a builder, a man who had done hard work for a long time. Inside the ark, the air held the scent of animals, wood, and resin. Beams groaned softly as temperature shifted with the rising sun. Ropes hung coiled. Storage compartments were sealed. Water containers checked. Everything was ready. Not with excitement, not with relief, with the stillness of someone knows preparation is over. His sons moved without chatter. His wife spoke only when needed. Their faces carried a tension that lived with them for years, the weight of being watched, doubted, laughed at. Outside, someone walked past the ark without even turning their head. Years earlier, crowds gathered to stare. Later, they gathered to joke. Eventually, they stopped gathering. Nothing dramatic ever happened. Until this day. Near the edge of the settlement, a young girl slowed her steps. Children notice things adults filter out. She had passed the ark many times, but today it held her attention longer than usual. No clear reason, just a feeling she couldn't name. The structure seemed quieter than normal. The animals inside weren't restless, they were still. She stood there longer than she meant to. A voice called her name. She ran back toward the familiar noise of life, the ark shrinking behind her. But she looked back once. Late morning. A farmer straightened his back and pressed a hand into the small of it. Something felt off. Not pain, not illness, just a change in the air, like the moment before a storm, except the sky was clear. Birds that usually cut across the sky in loose patterns landed together on the ground. A dog stopped barking mid-noise. Two men arguing over tools both paused, forgetting what they were saying. Small things, easy to ignore. People returned to what they were doing, because life teaches you to dismiss unease. There's always work to finish. Noah stood near the entrance. Light fell across the threshold. Dust moved in slow currents. Beyond the door, the world looked the same. Hills, people, movement. He didn't give a speech, no last warning, no dramatic gesture. Some moments don't allow for theater. His family gathered behind him. No one asked if it was time. They knew. A man carrying a basket saw the family standing near the ark entrance. He smirked, called out something about finally setting sail on dry land. A few nearby people chuckled. The sound didn't carry far, because the wind had stopped. Leaves hung motionless, smoke rose straight upward, unbroken. Even insects seemed quieter. Still, no one imagined the end of the world could arrive without spectacle. Surely there would be signs, surely something louder. It began without an announcement. A low sound, wood under weight, a deep vibration that traveled through the ark's frame. No hands pushed it. The massive door shifted. Slowly. Dust fell from the top beam. Light changed shape on the ground as the opening narrowed. A hinge groaned long and heavy, like something ancient waking. The man with the basket stopped laughing. A woman shielded her eyes, unsure what she was seeing. The girl who had looked earlier felt her stomach drop. The door kept moving. No one ran forward to stop it. The size alone made the idea impossible, but more than size held people still. It felt final in a way nothing else ever had. The sound of wood settling into place echoed once, then stopped. The door was shut. Nothing happened. No thunder, no shaking earth, just a closed door where an opening had been. Some people laughed again, softer this time. Jokes half-formed, unsure of themselves. "Strange," someone said. "Yes," another answered. And they returned to what they were doing, because denial is easier than comprehension. Midday heat pressed down, air thick, still. Then a small sound, so small it could have been imagined. A soft tap against dust. A dark mark bloomed on dry ground. Another followed. A boy looked at his arm as a cool point of water rested there. Someone said, "Rain?" A few chuckled. Relief, something ordinary again. Then the sky darkened without clouds gathering in the way people knew. The light dimmed evenly, like a veil drawn across the sun. The rain did not build slowly. It arrived. People ran to pull coverings over stored grain, to gather tools, to usher animals under shelter. Movements quick, annoyed, practical. Rain meant inconvenience, until the ground began to change shape. Dry paths became slick lines of mud. Low places filled first. Water pooled where it had no memory of being before. Children slipped. Someone shouted. The rain did not weaken. It strengthened. A man tried to cross a familiar dip in the land and found water at his knees. He laughed in disbelief, called for help. No one answered fast enough. Water moved with purpose, not like runoff from a normal storm. It climbed. It spread. It erased boundaries between field and path, yard and road. The ark lifted. So gently at first that no one noticed. Inside, Noah and his family held on to beams as the floor tilted, then steadied. Outside, people began to run without knowing where to run. Someone pounded on the ark's door. Others joined, hands against wood, fists, rocks, voices shouting names, pleas, demands. The door did not move, not because it was locked, because it was no longer theirs to open. Rain hammered the wood, water rose to ankles, then calves. The girl who had watched earlier stood on a higher ground, breath coming fast, eyes wide, searching for something, someone who could explain what was happening. There was no one. Noah did not smile. No one inside spoke words of triumph. They felt the lift of the ark, the shift of weight, the sound of wood striking water from all sides. Grief does not disappear just because you are safe. Hours passed. Landmarks vanished. Stones once used as markers disappeared beneath brown, churning water. Homes collapsed in silence under pressure. The noise of rain swallowed human sound. The ark floated higher, separated from everything that had once been familiar ground. Inside, breath, heartbeat, waiting. Outside, silence beneath the rain. The day the door closed did not announce itself as the most important day in human history. It looked like any other day. That is how turning points arrive. And by the time they are recognized, they are already behind us. Water stretched to the horizon. The ark drifted small against a world remade. Inside, breath, heartbeat, waiting. Outside, silence beneath the rain. The day the door closed did not announce itself as the most important day in human history. It looked like any other day. That is how turning points arrive, and by the time they are recognized, they are already behind us.